Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at 3 United States quarters that can be worth much more than their face value. Some are common in worn condition but become far more interesting when they have high-grade surfaces, rare varieties or unusual mint errors. We will check their history, design, real market value and important auction prices. So keep watching because one small detail can make a big difference when collectors decide what a quarter is really worth. First up is the 1965 no mint mark quarter, and this is where you should pay close attention because the value can range from a normal 25-cent quarter to thousands of dollars. A top quality example has reached an auction price of $12,650. Other high-grade examples have crossed $1,000. So before you pass over this coin, check the date, the surface and the small details because that is where the real difference can be found. The 1965 quarter is one of the most important Washington quarters in U.S. history. This was the first year of the new copper nickel-clad quarter. Before this change, Washington quarters were made from 90% silver. The mint changed the metal because the United States was dealing with a major coin shortage and the rising price of silver was making the old coin design harder to keep in circulation. The new quarter has a pure copper center with an outer layer made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs about 5.67 grams and has a reeded edge. The front shows George Washington and the back shows an eagle with its wings spread. The design was created by John Flanagan and became one of the most familiar designs in American coin history. Now look at the missing mint mark. This is one of the first things people notice. There is no P, D or S on a normal 1965 quarter, and that is correct. The mint removed mint marks during this period to help reduce coin collecting and hoarding. So the missing letter itself is not what makes this quarter valuable. More than 1.8 billion regular 1965 quarters were made. That means there are still many examples around. Most circulated coins have very little extra value and may trade for around face value. PCGS notes that collector interest is mainly focused on better condition examples because high-grade coins are much harder to find. Now check the condition of your coin. This can be the biggest factor. Look at Washington's face and hair. Then check the open areas around his portrait. These spots often show small contact marks from other coins. On the back, look at the eagle's chest and the open fields. Scratches, marks and wear can quickly keep a coin from reaching a high grade. A normal worn quarter may have a dull surface and clear signs of use. A better coin will have sharper details and less wear. An uncirculated coin can still show small marks but should have much stronger detail. When the coin reaches very high grades, the price can rise quickly because collectors are looking for the best examples they can find. PCGS records an auction result of $12,650 for a 1965 regular strike quarter. That is the kind of number that makes this coin interesting to collectors. There are also high-grade examples that have sold for more than $1,000. One MS67 Plus example reached $1,125 in auction. But there is an even more interesting part. The 1965 quarter has recognized double die varieties. A double die is made when the design on the die is created with a form of doubling. This can produce visible doubling on parts of the coin. Collectors carefully study the letters and other design areas to identify these varieties. PCGS lists 2 double die obverse varieties and 1 double die reverse variety for this quarter. One recognized double die obverse variety has an auction record of $489. That means the small details on the coin can matter just as much as the date itself. When checking for doubling, do not look for a random scratch or flat mark. A true double die has a specific look and should be compared with known examples. If something looks unusual, it is better to have the variety checked before assuming it is valuable. There is also another important group connected with this coin. The mint made special mint set quarters without mint marks. These were not normal circulation coins and they can have sharper details and more reflective surfaces. Only about 2.36 million of these quarters were made for the special mint sets. This is important because a 1965 quarter can look very different depending on how it was made. A normal circulation strike and a special mint set coin should not be judged in exactly the same way. Collectors and grading companies separate these types when identifying the coin. Now take a close look at the color and shine. A strong original surface can make a coin much more attractive. But do not clean the quarter to make it look brighter. Cleaning can leave marks on the surface and can hurt its collector value. You should also check the edge. The edge should have the normal reeded pattern. Look for anything that appears clearly different from a normal quarter. If you think you have found an error, do not try to change the coin or polish it. Keep it in its original condition. The real market picture is simple. A worn 1965 quarter can be around 25 cents. Better coins can bring a few dollars. Gem quality examples can reach tens of dollars and very high-grade coins can reach hundreds or more. Special varieties can bring their own prices and exceptional auction examples can reach thousands. The highest recorded auction price listed by PCGS is $12,650. So when you find a 1965 no-mint mark quarter, take a few seconds to inspect it. Check the surface. Check the details. Look closely at the lettering and design. Look for recognized varieties and pay attention to the overall condition. That small quarter may be common, but the best examples are a completely different part of the market. A coin that looks ordinary at first can become much more interesting when the grade is high or a real mint variety is present. And that is exactly why this quarter deserves a closer look before you put it back into circulation. Now let's move to the 1980p mint mark quarter and look closely because this coin has a very interesting detail that many people miss. A normal example is usually worth close to 25 cents in circulated condition. Better coins can move into the dollar range. But a very high-grade example has reached $900 at auction. That is a real recorded sale, and it shows why condition matters so much with this quarter. So if you have one in your old coins, keep watching because the small details can tell you what kind of quarter you have. The first thing to notice is the P Mint mark. This letter tells you that the quarter was made at the Philadelphia Mint. This is an important point because the P Mint mark was used on Washington quarters starting in 1980. Before this change, Philadelphia quarters normally had no mint mark. So seeing a P on this quarter is part of the history of the coin. The coin is made from copper and nickel over a pure copper center. It weighs about 5.67 grams and has a reeded edge. The front shows George Washington and the back shows an eagle with its wings spread. The design was created by John Flanagan and was used on Washington quarters for many years. More than 635 million of these quarters were made at Philadelphia. That is a very large number. Because of this, most examples are common and easy to find. A quarter that has been used for years with normal wear is usually not worth much more than its face value. This is why the condition of the coin becomes very important when you are checking one. Now take a close look at the surface. If your quarter has many scratches, marks and worn areas, it will normally have little collector value. But if the coin is bright, sharp and has very little wear, it becomes much more interesting. Collectors want coins with clean surfaces and strong details because high-grade examples are much harder to find. A good place to start is Washington's face and hair. Look for small marks around the cheek, forehead and neck. Then check the open areas around his portrait. These areas can show contact marks very easily. On the back, look closely at the eagle and the open space around it. The cleaner these areas are, the better the coin can be. Now here is where the value starts getting much more interesting. PCGS records an auction price of $900 for a 1980p Washington quarter graded MS67+. That is a very high grade, and it shows how much collectors can pay for an exceptional example. But you do not need to find a $900 coin to see a big difference in value. Other high-grade examples have also sold for strong prices. An MS67 example has sold for $382 and another MS67 example has sold for $193. These sales show that once the coin reaches a high grade, the value can move far above the normal face value. At lower grades, the difference is much smaller. One MS65 example recorded by PCGS sold for $7. Another MS66 example sold for $23. This gives you a better idea of how the market works. The coin does not suddenly become valuable just because it is old. The grade and quality are what can push the price higher. There is also something important to understand about the P mint mark. Do not think the P by itself makes this quarter rare. Millions were made with this mint mark. The real interest comes from finding a coin with excellent condition or a genuine mint-made error or variety. Errors are another thing collectors check. Look for an off-center strike where the design is not properly centered. Check for strong doubling that appears as part of the original design. Look for die cracks or other unusual marks that may have been created during the minting process. But be careful here. Many damaged coins can look strange. A scratch made by another coin is not normally a valuable error. A mark caused by a machine after the coin left the mint is also different from a true mint error. The best errors are made during the actual production of the coin. You can also check the edge of the quarter. A normal coin should have a regular reeded edge. Look for anything that seems clearly different. If the edge looks damaged or flattened after years of use, that does not automatically mean the coin is rare. Another important point is cleaning. If you find a bright old quarter, do not polish it and do not use chemicals to make it shine. Cleaning can leave tiny scratches and change the original surface. Collectors usually prefer coins that keep their natural surface. The current value picture is much easier to understand when you separate normal coins from top quality coins. A worn 1980p quarter is generally around 25 cents. Better circulated examples may bring a little more. Uncirculated coins can range from a few dollars into the tens depending on grade. Very high-grade examples can reach hundreds and the recorded auction high is $900. So when you find a 1980p quarter, do not just look at the P and assume you have a rare coin. Look at everything. Check the surface. Check Washington's portrait. Check the eagle. Look at the edge. Then look for anything that appears to have happened during the minting process. The most exciting part is that a quarter worth 25 cents can look almost the same as one worth hundreds of dollars. The difference may be in the tiny marks that are easy to miss. That is why collectors take their time when checking coins and why a good magnifying glass can be useful. If your 1980p quarter has strong detail and very clean surfaces, it deserves a closer look. And if you notice something unusual, do not clean the coin or try to change it. Keep it exactly as you found it, because the original condition can be very important when the coin is checked by a professional. Now let's look at the final coin, and this one has a detail that can make it much more interesting than it first appears. The 1978 no mint mark quarter is normally worth about 25 cents in circulated condition. Better uncirculated examples can be worth several dollars. But here is the number that catches attention. A top-grade example has reached an auction price of $2,875. So if you have a 1978 quarter without a mint mark, take a closer look before you spend it. The first thing you should know is that the missing mint mark is completely normal. The Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on these quarters. The P mint mark did not begin appearing on Philadelphia quarters until 1980. So when you see a 1978 quarter with no letter next to Washington, it is the normal Philadelphia issue. But there is an interesting part of the history that many collectors know about. Some quarters without a mint mark were also produced at the West Point Mint during the late 1970s. These coins were made to help supply the demand for quarters, and they were intentionally made without a W mint mark. The West Point examples look the same as the Philadelphia coins, so there is no simple way to tell them apart just by looking at the coin. The regular 1978 issue had a huge production of more than 521 million coins. That means most examples are common and easy to find. A quarter that has been used for years will usually have little extra value. You may see wear on Washington's face, hair and neck, along with scratches and marks across the open areas. These are normal signs of circulation. The coin itself has the familiar Washington design. George Washington is shown on the front with liberty above his portrait and "In God We Trust" beside him. The back shows the eagle with its wings spread and the words United States of America and $quarter around the design. John Flanagan created the Washington quarter design, and the edge has the normal reeded pattern. The 1978 quarter is made from copper and nickel over a pure copper center. It weighs about 5.67 grams and has a diameter of about 24.30 millimeters. These details can help you compare your coin with a normal example. Now check the condition because this is where the value can change. Look at Washington's cheek and neck first. These areas can show small contact marks. Then look around the portrait where there is a lot of open space. If the coin has been kept safely and has very few marks, it becomes much more interesting. On the back, check the eagle and the open areas around it. Look for scratches, dark spots and signs of wear. A coin with sharp details and clean surfaces has a much better chance of reaching a high grade than one that has been used heavily. The normal value is easy to understand. A worn 1978 no mint mark quarter can be around 25 cents. Better circulated coins may bring a little more. Uncirculated examples can move into the dollar range and stronger examples can bring several dollars. The real jump happens when the coin reaches an extremely high grade. PCGS lists an auction record of $2,875 for a 1978 no mint mark quarter graded MS67 Plus. That is a very high grade and shows why condition matters so much. Think about what MS67 Plus means for a coin like this. It has to be an exceptionally clean example with very strong detail and very few marks. At this level, collectors are not simply looking for an old quarter. They are looking for one of the finest examples they can find. This is also why two 1978 quarters can have completely different prices. One may have been carried in a pocket for years and show plenty of wear. Another may have stayed protected since it was made and still have sharp details and a clean surface. They have the same date, but they are very different coins from a collector's point of view. There is also another thing worth checking. Look closely for genuine mint errors. An off-center strike can make part of the design appear shifted. A strong doubled design can create visible doubling. Die cracks and other mint-made problems can also attract collectors. But do not mistake damage for an error. A scratch from another coin is not normally valuable. A bent edge or mark caused after the coin left the mint is also not the same as a genuine mint error. The important question is whether the unusual feature was created during the minting process. The no mint mark detail also has another interesting side. Because some West Point quarters from this period were made without a mint mark, they cannot be separated from Philadelphia examples just by looking at the coin. PCGS explains that the West Point quarters were intentionally made without a mint mark and there are no visible features that identify them. So if you find a 1978 quarter without a mint mark, do not start by assuming it is rare. Start by checking the condition. A normal circulated coin is common. A clean uncirculated coin deserves more attention. A very high-grade example can be worth hundreds or even thousands. And remember the $2,875 auction result. That price came from an MS67 Plus example. It is a useful guide for understanding the top end of the market, but it does not mean a normal 1978 quarter has that value. Before you put your coin away, check both sides under good light. Look at the date. Check the surfaces. Study Washington's portrait and the eagle. Look at the edge. Then use a magnifying glass if you notice anything unusual. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it and do not use chemicals to make it brighter. The original surface is important to collectors and cleaning can leave marks that reduce the coin's appeal. The value picture is simple. Most circulated examples are around 25 cents. Better coins can be worth a few dollars. High-grade examples can reach hundreds and an exceptional MS67 Plus example has reached $2,875 at auction. That makes the 1978 no mint mark quarter a coin worth checking carefully. The missing mint mark is normal, but the condition can be anything from heavily worn to extremely rare in top grade. And when a common quarter survives in outstanding condition, the collector market can become very different from the value printed on the coin.